so welcome to another Wargame review from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander, and today I'm here on my own, as you can tell, and we're taking a look at a solitaire wargame called Heroes of Telemark. And this is a little small folio game from Decision Games. This particular system, it's the Raider system. These very small format, kind of $15 solo folio games. They're designed by Joseph Miranda, and basically you've got a very small kind of deck of cards which are going to have events, and they act as a timer in the game, and it's a point-to-point movement solo game where you have to kind of purchase your team and kit them out, and then there's 4 missions included in this. So you can just play one of the missions, or you can play them as a linked campaign, where there's some kind of knock-on effects if you want, and you do all of that with about 5 pages of rules, but really it's a bifold of rules, and then it's a sheet of specific game rules. I have played in this series one other one. It was called Lawrence of Arabia, and that one was quite different from this, is what I would say. That one had, I felt like, a good amount of more changes from the series rules, whereas this one was much more in line with the series rules of how the different objectives worked, and the alert track, and the recruitment points and purchasing stuff was much more kind of standard. The changes were in what the units do, what kind of special units were available, and then like the whole airdropping and the glider landing stuff was different, and then, you know, the different elements of what you were trying to do with the objective pieces. But where Lawrence of Arabia was, I really enjoyed that game. It was very fun, but it was, I would say in that one, there were times where I was like, am I doing this right? Because it felt so different from the core rules and some of the stuff that I was reading online from the other games that I was like, oh. Whereas playing this was, I felt like a much more straightforward and much simpler endeavor, because the game itself is much more in line. It deviates much less from the series rules. So what I would say is this is probably a decent enough place to start with the other ones. So what is this? Okay, so in this one, you operate as kind of SOE in London, and you have to recruit a group of Norwegian-based commandos, and then you drop them back into Norway, and they're trying to go after certain objectives. I think the first mission is kind of scouting, just to kind of see, but you're trying to find the plutonium that is being mined and then sent back to Germany for kind of testing and atomic research, and also I think heavy water as well, which was created in Norway because of the chemistry and the isotopes and things. It was all created there and shipped back to Germany again for their atomic research. So that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to stop that aspect of it. This is not a game of going out and combating. You will lose. This is a game of stealth and trying to sneak around, and you're trying to nab objectives, and you're trying to do it as quickly and as quietly as possible. If you go out guns blazing, you're going to lose 95% of the time in this game. You need a lot of luck if you do that. Which was very different from the previous game, where you had to go out and defeat Ottoman garrisons, and you had to go out and fight and cause a revolution. Very different, which I thought was a big credit, considering it's 4 or 5 pages of rules, and it's a 15 to 20 minute game, and it's $15. It's not just a reskin compared to that other one. And maybe that one's the different and all the others are the same, I don't know. But these 2 titles that I've played were both different enough where I would keep both of them. And thematically, I enjoy them. There's a really great... I've watched a documentary on this, and then I think they did like maybe it was the same thing, but they did one where it was like a dramatization of this. Gosh, what was it called? it was on Netflix ages ago. But like, considering what it was really good. And so that's part of the reason that I bought this, because I'm like, oh, I actually kind of know about that. I wanted to kind of dive in. And so I had a really good time with this. What I'll do is I'll show you kind of how it works, because it's not that complicated. We'll kind of go through a game of it, and then we'll wrap up with some final thoughts. So here's a look at the map. As you can see, if you've watched the review of Lawrence of Arabia, it does have a lot of similarities to it. So we have a little terrain key over here explaining what the point-to-point movement map looks like. So we have woods in green, mountains in kind of a brown, open are these black circles, these black squares, some of are towns, and these red hexagons are industrial buildings. And then some of these spaces have objective markers in them. Those had a red star in them. And those were randomly shuffled and placed face down. So we don't know what's what in that we're looking for. We have a little recruitment chart that shows us the points for how much that we can recruit for the various different units that we've got. An alert chart. This is how alert the enemy is. That's set based on what mission we're doing. There's some other charts and tables that we'll look at here, and then there's a terrain effects chart that explains any movement restrictions, but then also who wins tactical superiority ties. That's almost always based on the terrain, and then some other charts and holding boxes that we'll look at here in a second, some of which I don't use. You don't use them all the time. I keep all the stuff. It's such a small little map. I keep the stuff off map typically, just so I have better access to it. I do have these two little green cubes that I use. This is just to mark where my units are on the map. You can move the stack of units on the map, but they're quite small, and you don't want to accidentally knock and flip these over. And I do that, so I use a little off-map marker and have my forces arrayed, just for ease of reference as well. So these don't come with the game. That's just something extra that I use. All the German forces are in a cup, just off map. But that's kind of the setup of the game. The first thing that you're going to do, you're going to reference your mission. It tells you your alert level. It's 1. What you have to do on this mission. So we have to recover the plutonium-239 sample and then transport it back to the Milorg base. So what we're going to do is before we kind of do anything else on the map, we are going to roll for the Milorg camp. So we just roll a die. And the die is a 6, and a 6 says it's in Gaustertoppen, which is, well, I believe that's this one. That's funny that I don't know. We're going to put it here. I think it's that one. It's either that one or that one, but we're going to go here. I feel like that's right. That's what we're doing. Normally I had them kind of everywhere else. That's funny, I've not come across that one before. It might be that one, but we're going to put it there just because that's where I think that it goes. Maybe we found a fundamental flaw in the game already. So what we're going to do then is so we have to pick up the plutonium and then take it back to this space. That's what we need to do. That sounds like it's easy enough, but I was playing this mission before, and I had one op left that would get me to the mill camp, and on the last card, the mill camp, it moved, and then I lost. It was very frustrating. So, now we've got 8 ops, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the base kind of amount of turns that we have to do this with. The command and signals being 3 means we have a stacking limit of 3 units in a given stack. So that's important to know. And then we've got 10 recruitment points to spend. So I think what we're going to do, or what do you do in that instance? Oh boy. I think we are going to do... Oh, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. Because the engineers don't move as quickly. We want to be fast in this one. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. That's 6 points. And we're going to do 7, 8 for the 2 Bren guns. We're going to take a supplies. And we're going to take... Oh, we're going to take a pistol. So, the Bren guns add +1 to these fighting. So this is a 3-3, this is a 3-3, this is still a 2-3. The pistol gives us a +1 to tactical superiority, and the supplies are often used in the op cards. But now I've purchased it, we won't see any of those, so you're welcome, everyone. So the first thing that we're going to do, and this is why I kind of keep this off map, because I set the order of my troops, I almost never change it, and I like to be able to reference everything that I still have available. So I mark that with the green one, and then I'm going to just drop this into one of the airdrop spaces. And so the first thing I'm going to do, we're going to come at it from this angle. So I'm going to drop it into this little airdrop space, landing zone, and the entire turn is you flying in from SOE in London all the way, and then you're doing a parachute drop. These guys are airdropped into this space, and so then you're just going to roll on the airborne landing table. I rolled a 6, 3 through 6, safe landing, everything's fine. Good, good. That's all I want to hear. Sometimes you're going to lose guys, sometimes they're going to scatter. Things can go pretty poorly. You don't want to do that. If you're coming in with a glider, you might have to abort. Like, they just don't even make it. You effectively lose a turn, which sucks. So, now that we've landed, that is considered our whole movement for the turn. We're going to flip an op card. And the op card is a supply drop. If the operating force has a radio, select and receive 2 items of gear at no replacement point cost, because we spent all 10 of them. Add them to the operating force within capacity. If there's no radio, there's no effect. We didn't have a radio. I thought about buying one, but I didn't, so that's my own fault. So nothing happens. That's the end of that turn. So then we just move on to the next turn. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to move into this objective space. And then what we're going to do is we're going to end our movement, and then we're going to pull another op card, and the op is Plan B. And so we're going to make an alert check. If the roll is less than or equal to the alert level, we can recruit a commando team at no cost, and we put them on randomly. So we're going to roll. I rolled a 2. That is not less than our alert level, so there's no effect. So that's kind of the end of the turn. And then what we do at the end of the turn is we reveal the objective marker. And we found heavy water. We did not find the plutonium, so that's fine. So we do gain a recruit point from it. It's got 1 RP on it, but that's not the objective that we're looking for. So then we move on to the next turn. I'm going to go up here. 1, 2, 3, and just for reference, when you move into a town, you do have to stop. We'd moved our maximum 3 movement anyway, but if I'd gone here, I'd have to stop here. I couldn't move 1 space beyond it. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pull a card, and there is a combined operations. If the operating force has a radio, hilarious, we've had 2 radio cards. Examine the next 2 op cards in the draw deck. Then return them without changing their order. If no radio, no effect. Great, no effect. So then we're going to flip this over. This one is an abandoned facility. It's not the objective, but it also doesn't provide any recruit points, so kind of useless there. So next turn, we're going to move into this town here. 1, 2, and we're going to flip. Nope, we're not going to flip it over. I always get too hasty. We're going to do a card. Berlin interested. We're going to make a check. That's not terrible. If the die roll is greater than the alert level, no effect. So we're fine on that. Our alert level being low on these first 2 missions is very good. It goes up, and if you start losing battles, it goes up very quickly, and then they just pin you. So then we're going to flip over our thing. We found a research facility, gives us 2 recruit points. That's nice, but it's not the objective that we're looking for. So then we're going to go 1, 2 into this industrial town. and we'll flip another card. And here's where, like, the game moves at a very quick pace, but we're also very close to it being over. And we're very lucky that this is reasonably centralized to these. When you have it placed kind of out here, you've got to run a really long way. So, if I could pick up the card, here we go. We have a German patrol. So we're going to make an alert check. If the die roll is greater than the alert level, no effect, which is nice. Oh my goodness. So it's not the objective, but also it is an ambush. So we get ambushed, it provides no RP, so an ambush, we just get attacked. So we're going to roll a die. Of course I rolled a 6. We're about to lose, by the way. And you pull that many enemy units from the cup. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Of course that would happen. So, all the enemy units have a single strength value on them, and you're just going to line them up from strongest to weakest. And now you're going to alternate attacking each other. This is so bad. 6 is max units. If you'd have rolled a 1, we'd be in good shape. Or even anything average would have been good. So, now what we're going to do is we're going to roll for tactical superiority. And tactical superiority determines who shoots first. It alternates between shoots, but whoever shoots first is going to have an advantage. So, each side rolls a d6, and we're going to add +1 for our silenced pistol. They're going to add +1. They got a sort of plus on the Gebirgsjäger, and also, no, that's it. But they're in this red industrial space. They win ties, so that's pretty bad for us. So I'm going to roll for the Raiders first. I rolled a 2, +1 is a 3, so we'll just make that a 3. And then they're going to roll a die +1, and they rolled a 7. So they're going to shoot first. And so what they do is they shoot from strongest to weakest units, and they always shoot your strongest unit. So this is a 3 strength, this is a 3 strength, this is a 2 strength. So he's going to shoot his SDK said 251, and they're going to roll a die, and they need a 5 or less. So we're probably dead. I rolled a 3, we are dead. Now, we get to shoot back with our next unit. And we can line them up in any way we want, but generally speaking, you want to attack with your bigger units first. They always shoot your biggest units, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to shoot, I've got 2 +1 is the 3 for my Bren gun. I'm going to attack the Gebirgsjäger. I rolled a 1, that's good, so we kill them. Now, they're going to attack my biggest unit, so they need a 4 or less. They do not do it. This is miraculous. We've got a 2. We're going to shoot this guy. No, we failed. Now they're going to shoot a 3, a 2, and a 1. So 3. No. 2. No. And a 1. No. So then we go back to the top. If you go through a whole round of shooting and no one dies, no one takes any damage, you have the option to kind of break off. But because we were engaged and someone died, it's impossible to kind of slip away. So then we just go back up to the top and we do this all over again. So this guy's going to shoot at a 5, and he hits, so I'm dead. And then we've got a 2. I'm going to shoot this troop with a 4. No, I missed. Now the 4 is going to shoot back at me. And we rolled a 3, so we're dead. At which point, I've got no units left, and the game's over. So that's how the game works. That is the worst possible outcome for a combat, because even if we'd won, this little ambush does nothing for us. But for example, in a German patrol, if the combat had come from here and we'd won, we would gain an op card. So an op card goes into the deck, so it gives us more time, things like that. So good things can happen if you get into the right combats. This ambush was brutal. There were 6 units. We were heavily outnumbered. And if you don't win the initiative and kill their biggest units first, it's over very quickly. But the objective was in this last space, of course. That was naturally going to happen to me. But we would have to have moved and picked it up and then been able to move back to here, and we would have completed the mission. At which point, you know, you gain a little RP. And then you can kind of start on the next mission if you're playing the campaign, and you kind of set things up for the next one. But that's the game. It's not a complicated game. It's a fast-playing game. That took 14 minutes from start to finish. Like, this will happen to you a lot. It's a game it's very, very challenging. You'll get lucky and kind of win one, and then you're like, how would you ever win a campaign of this? I've yet to do it. But that's Telemark. What we'll do is we'll wrap up with a few final thoughts. So that was a look at the map. Again, a very small, short, light, solitaire, point-to-point movement game. It doesn't overstay its welcome, is what I would say, which is a boon. You're going to pay $15 for this. This is it. If you're going on a business trip, if you're going on a cruise, if you're going on a holiday, if you're going, frankly, anywhere, this is the kind of game that you're taking with you. You slide it into your backpack, into your suitcase, you fold it inside your laptop so no one knows that you're a secret history nerd, and then you can whip this out. And again, I call out kind of some of those things because you could play this on your desk at work in a lunch break. It's a little 11 by 17. You can have it in a drawer and just play it in the drawer and slide it away when your boss comes over and asks you what in the hell you're doing. That's the kind of boon of these little games. This isn't supposed to be your main game that you play on game night. That's not what it's designed for. This is designed to be something that you kind of have on the side, doing a little bit of this for a little bit of fun as kind of a filler, or it's something you can take on holiday and kind of enjoy. And I think as that, it does that really well and is a credit to it. Because you're going to play this, and I will tell you this, you will lose an awful lot of times. You'll run out of time, because the time constraints are very short. You have to be very efficient with this game. Or when you get into the 1 or 2 combats in the game, if you roll a 6 and you have to pull 6 German units, you will lose that combat. Because there aren't that many German units, so you'll always pull at least 2 or 3 good ones, and if they have combat initiative, you will die. And so it's a game where, you know, you're going to play it over and over and over again, but it's so quick and short that, like, you kind of do it for a bit and then you leave it alone. Again, no one's writing their master's thesis or their doctorate on this because that's not what it's designed for. Like, is this the biggest, deepest, richest game? Is it the most thematic game? No, but it's $15 and you can take it wherever and play it wherever, and that's what it's for. They have some larger games in their folio series, but I've not played a lot of those, especially I don't think I played any of the larger solitaire ones. I think there might be 1 or 2, but the Raider system is simple, it's playable, and it's enjoyable. I have enjoyed the couple games that I've played of them, and you know, I didn't pay very much for them, and so just kind of whip it out and kind of play around with it, and I will probably revisit these at some point. Will it be super mega soon? No, because I played a few sessions of it, and I did spend a long time with them, and play them. You can't help but play it a bunch of times, because you're going to lose very quickly on some of them, and setup is just, all right, put everything back to the start, reshuffle the objectives, reshuffle the cards, let's go again. And so you spend a bunch of time with it, and then you set it aside, go and do something else, and then 6 months later you're like, hello my old friend, let me try again, and then you go and do that. That's what this game is for, and I think it does that very well. You know, the other thing that I would recommend with this game, and with any of the games in the Raider series, is get card sleeves. You'll want the little miniature card sleeves. I think, oh good gracious, it's like, they're like 63 by 42 millimeter card sleeves, something like that. You want to look up exactly, but you will want that because you will shuffle these cards like it's your day job, because you'll lose. And so you just shuffle them, and then you draw your X amount of op cards that you need for that mission. And then you'll lose, and then you do it again. I didn't have those when I first started playing, and after about a day's worth of play, you know, I played probably 25 games of Lawrence of Arabia in the space of 3 or 4 hours. and those cards were like battered, and it's just the nature of them being small, and you will shuffle them and use them a lot. So I couldn't have ordered the card sleeves fast enough. So I got some of those, and I put them in this, and when I played this a bunch, made a world of difference. You don't degrade the cards. I'm not a big card sleeving guy, but because of how small and few they are, and how you use them all the time, and that will help. That's if I'm gonna make any suggestions of sleeving any of my war games, these are little ones of them, because you're gonna get a deck of those and you get like 50 card sleeves. You're gonna use less than half of those in this. So a little pack of card sleeves will carry 2 of these Raider games, and without them, it's just they get sad real quick, is what I would say. But I had a blast playing this. I think... Oh. Did I like Lawrence of Arabia more? Maybe, but that's because I love the film and the soundtrack in Lawrence of Arabia. Like, outside of this. But this was very enjoyable also. I think I like that more thematically. But mechanically, they were both very enjoyable. Again, for what they are. You just have to understand that. And I will say this, I felt like the rules in this one were clearer than in Lawrence of Arabia. And that's because I both had experience with this system, and also the rules in the game rules don't deviate as much from the series rules. Whereas in that one, it was like, hey, you do this and you do this. And it's like, well, what about all this stuff that's in here? And you just like, I don't really tell you to ignore it, but you're supposed to. And so there were times where I was like, I hope I'm doing this right. And I may not have been, but this one I felt was much more straightforward with, these are the rules, this is what you do. And so that was a boon as well, having experienced both of those. I thought this one was very easy to kind of jump into. You buy your units, you go for it. And then that's it. You're going to do that over and over again. And the first mission is going and scouting and trying to see what's there. And then you're trying to go and destroy. Well, I think that the next mission was you have to go and get the plutonium and take it back to the military camp. And then the military camp flips a card and it moves before you can get it back. Great, and you lose. That happens. And then there's one, you get Royal Engineers, you've got to go and blow up certain things. So there's a decent enough variety in the missions. Maybe there was a little bit more variety in the other game, but again, $15. And this is a game that you pick up at a convention because you have to pay the shipping, so then you really get the value out of it. But I had an enjoyable time with it. The Raider system is quick and easy to learn. It's not particularly complicated. I've got 2 of them. If I was going to pick up any more, what I would say is I would be doing that only for thematically speaking. There used to be an old LRDG one with the old system, or I don't know if it's old, but it's an older title, and the playthroughs, they use a very different combat resolution mechanic. And I think that's because they redid the Raider system and they changed it. But they haven't re-released that. So, if that were to come out, I would try that. But do I need more of these? Probably not. But the 2 that I have are perfect for my collection. They fit a really nice little space in there, and they are very enjoyable for what they are. So if it's something you might be interested in, feel free to go check it out, but I appreciate you very much for tuning in. I've been Alexander from theplayersaid.com.